If you're considering your first pair of hearing aids, or maybe you've just purchased your first pair of hearing aids, it's very possible that you're thinking about what the adjustment process might look like as you wear your first pair of devices. In this video, I'm going to reflect on my own experience wearing hearing aids for the first time. I'm going to talk about the fit, the sound, some little tweaks that I made that helped me adjust more quickly, and some of the things I wish I knew if I were looking back now at that time where I was first getting used to all of this extra amplification into my ears. If we haven't yet met, my name is Blake Cadwell. I'm the co-founder at Soundly.com. We're one of the leading destinations for hearing health shopping and research in the United States. If you like what you see in this video, we'd appreciate it if you give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a lot and helps this video reach more people. With that, let's dig in. So if you're anything like me, your hearing health journey probably started with something like this. You found you were turning the TV up too loud. Maybe you're missing quiet conversations, or you're misunderstanding your partner, not hearing them from the other room. That sends you on a journey to find a hearing solution that works for your budget and your needs. Maybe that's an over-the-counter product, or maybe that's something you purchased in clinic. In my case, the first pair of hearing aids that I really stuck with came from a local clinic. But what really surprised me, even with the counseling of my local audiologist, is just how much adjustment it took to get used to my new hearing aids. I found that the world was suddenly so much louder, which on one hand was giving me all of this clarity and confidence which I had been missing, but on the other hand felt pretty overwhelming. So I want to talk to you in this video about some of the experiences that I had in my first weeks and months as a hearing aid wearer, some of the things we've learned from thousands of customers at Soundly.com, and some of the tweaks or tricks that I wish I had known back when I was adjusting to hearing aids for the first time. So let's imagine for a second that you've just gotten a pair of hearing aids, maybe at a local clinic, or you've purchased from Soundly.com our best-selling Sennheiser All-Day Clear. You've pulled them out of the box, you've put them in your ears, you've turned them on, maybe you've programmed them using the smartphone app, and suddenly the volume of the world is increasing. I remember the first day when I put in my hearing aids, I was sitting in the kitchen and my wife was in the other room talking to a friend, and once I put them in, I suddenly could hear their conversation. I could actually hear the words they were saying to each other from the other room. This came as a complete surprise to me, and I was really happy about it. I thought, this is amazing. A few minutes later, I walked outside my front door and a helicopter flew overhead. I live in Los Angeles, so there's a lot of helicopter traffic. But in this particular case, the helicopter sounded so loud to me that I literally ducked because I thought the helicopter was way too low or was about to hit my house. Of course, I looked up in the sky and it was in its normal position. But those first 10 minutes really exemplified the experience of putting on hearing aids for the first time. You're getting more sound, you're hearing with more clarity, and yet suddenly things feel really, really loud. Now, before I go too much further, it's important to note that after some adjustment period, that level of loudness that I experienced the first day really went away. And now when I wear hearing aids, the world sounds like it's at a normal volume. My brain has readjusted to the sound that probably most other people are hearing, but I just didn't hear for a very long time. So what can you do to make the adjustment process into your new hearing aids a little bit easier? There are really three areas that I recommend you look. And the first is actually going to start with the hardware. So let's assume that you've picked a decent pair of hearing aids. We have a lot of content on the best hearing aids on the market. On the prescription side or the OTC side, we think this Sennheiser All-Day Clear is a great product. On the over-the-counter side, it's made by Sonova, which is the same as an in-clinic brand. But let's just imagine you have a quality set of hearing aids. So the actual technology itself is doing a good job of matching your hearing loss, suppressing background noise, and giving you clear signal. But one important component of the hardware that a lot of folks don't think about is actually the ear tip. So one of my first suggestions to anyone who's just getting used to hearing aids is to try the various ear tips available either in the box that was shipped to you if you purchased over the counter, or actually working with your audiologist to try multiple different sizes. Now, as you become a more experienced hearing aid wearer, it's likely that you'll end up with a more closed dome. That's because you're getting more used to the sound that's coming out of the device itself. So a closed dome is typically going to seal off the outside sound and replace it with the sound that's coming in through your device. But when you're first getting started with your hearing aids, you may want to opt for a more open dome. It's going to sound more natural, and it's going to help you with things like the sound of your own voice, which can be an adjustment. Now, thankfully, regardless of the ear tip you choose, the sound of your own voice is one of the first things that your brain really does adjust to. If you wear your hearing aids for several hours a day, it should only take a few days before the sound of your own voice begins to drop away and you really don't notice it anymore. The second thing to pay close attention to is the fit itself. Once you've picked a dome or an ear tip that works well in your ear canal, Make sure that your hearing aids are sitting nice and deep inside your ear canal. Now, this might sound a little bit counterintuitive. Maybe you want to have them popped out because they feel so intense. Typically, you're going to have much better performance if you get them fully into your ears, hopefully flush with your ear canal if they are receiver and canal like this, or if they're in-ear style, fully into your ear canal so that you can begin to adjust naturally to that sound. Now, getting the right fit for your hearing aids is important for a couple of reasons. One, it will give you a better, clearer sound, which you can then begin to adjust to. And two, it actually provides more comfort because it's not going to agitate your ear canal as much and it's less likely to feel like it's falling out. My own experience is that when I first started wearing receiver and canal devices, I often had the piece that goes inside the ear a little bit loose. So it was kind of bubbling out, when in reality, I should have pushed it in a bit further and created that flush line between the wire and the ear canal. If you purchase through a local clinic, they can help you set up the fit. If you purchase through soundly.com, when you meet with our audiologist, which is included with every purchase, you can also talk to our audiologist about the fit inside your ears and make sure your hearing aids are fitting just right. All right, so once your hearing aids are in your ears properly and you've selected a dome, possibly one with a little bit more of an open vent or a smaller dome so that you can hear more natural sound coming in from the outside world as you adjust, it's time to turn our focus to the sound itself. Now, almost everyone feels like the world is really loud when they first start wearing hearing aids. Now, you can rest assured that this experience really does go down over time. In my experience, it took about a month of wearing my hearing aids for several hours a day for a lot of that distracting sound artifact or that feeling of loudness to really drop away. I stopped noticing the sound of my hand rubbing against my pants or papers rustling. These were all things that were very shocking to me when I first put on hearing aids. But over time, they did fall away. But what can you do in the meantime? The first thing you can do is you can ease yourself into the experience of hearing aids. Although you will adjust to your hearing aids faster the more you wear them, in my case, I found that I was able to wear my hearing aids for an hour or two a day at the very beginning, and then I slowly worked my way up to 3 or 4 hours, 5 or 6 hours, and finally 8 to 12 to now 14 or 15 hours a day. Eventually, your ears do become comfortable with the new sounds that you're experiencing, but you don't have to bite it all off in the first few days. Another simple trick that you can employ is to simply turn your hearing aids down by a couple of clicks. Typically, when your hearing aids are programmed, they're programmed to match your prescriptive targets. So they're as loud as what you need to augment the missing sounds within your audiogram. But right when you start, that might feel too intense. So turn your hearing aids down by 2 or 3 clicks and then slowly work them back up to their natural volume. This is something that took me a little too long to figure out. And then once I realized it, it was an important step to me being able to keep my hearing aids in longer and ultimately become more adjusted. I now listen to my hearing aids at full volume and it sounds totally natural to me. One other important tip for hearing aid wearers is to bring people in your life along for the journey. What's interesting is that for anyone who hasn't tried hearing aids, they really have no concept of what amplification sounds like. Folks in your life might assume that now you have hearing aids, you should just wear them all the time. It should be easy and it shouldn't be hard to adjust to. But what they don't realize is that there's actually work in readjusting your brain to all of this sound. So send the people you love this video, offer for them to try on your hearing aids for a moment, or just explain the experience that you're having. The important thing here is to not be totally silent about it, because likely your partner or your children or the people in your life just don't understand what it's like and the adjustment process that you're probably going through. Explain to them that you'll need to ease into this. It might take weeks or months, but that you're committed to the process and eventually you're going to be hearing better more of the time. One thing that comes up often with our customers at soundly.com is that they'll purchase hearing aids ahead of a big event. So maybe a big Christmas party or family gathering or board meeting. And they'll tell us, I'm excited to try my hearing aids out in this really crowded and dynamic environment. And while that's a good idea in the long run, and hearing aids will definitely help support their needs in those complicated environments down the road, it's very possible, and we often hear this back from our customers, that those are not the best environments to adjust to hearing aids in. In my case, what I found is that I was able to do the adjusting while I was at home at first, then one-on-one, then with a few people, and then slowly over time worked my way into noisier environments as my ears and my brain became familiar with hearing so much more. If I were to simply step into a 90 decibel complicated background noise environment like a restaurant days after I got my first pair of hearing aids, it's very likely that I would feel like I'm actually hearing worse, or at very least, it's just very overwhelming. So give yourself a break and start in some easier environments and then work your way up. Okay, so let's say you're a couple of weeks in to your hearing aid aid journey, and it's getting better, but you want to be a little bit more proactive. You want the process to move a little bit quicker. I'd recommend you take a look at Lace AI. We'll link to that product below, but essentially what it is a therapy program that you go through a smartphone app, and it essentially helps you train your brain to hear better in background noise while you're wearing your hearing aids. So you put in your hearing aids, you go through the app exercises, and essentially they're going to increase the volume of background noise compared to speech. And over time, you'll learn to link the sounds that you're hearing to clear speech. Lace has been shown to improve hearing and noise by up to 20%. We've had a lot of our customers give us rave reviews about how it's helped them adjust to hearing aids. So that's one tip you could try if you want to be more proactive and you want your adjustment process to go a little bit more quickly. Ultimately, if I could go back in time and tell myself one thing, it would be that the adjustment process is worth it. It really does get better. And once you're on the other side, the confidence that you get by hearing the world more clearly is really amazing. I find that where I used to cross the street to get away from a neighbor who might talk to me and I might miss what they're saying, I now feel fully confident to engage in those conversations. That's only possible because I adjusted to this technology. But ultimately what that really meant was being patient with myself, turning down the volume, wearing my devices for a few hours only a day, and avoiding the most complex background noise environments in the few days after I first purchased my devices. I hope this gives you a few ideas as you're adjusting to your new devices or considering your first pair of hearing aids. If you have questions or want to talk to our team, head over to soundly.com. Hearing health is all that we do. This is all we think about. We'd love to talk to you about your hearing health journey, the options that you're considering, or any other tips as you get used to wearing hearing aids. Thanks, and good luck with your research.